The night it happened, I remember standing barefoot in my driveway, staring at the empty space where my truck had been parked for years. The cool gravel pressed into my feet. The air was heavy with summer heat, but all I could feel was fury. My truck, my pride and joy, a 2005 F250 I'd restored with my late father, was gone. The faint tracks in the dirt told the story. It had been hauled away. And who else could have done it but the homeowners association that had been trying to bully me since the day I moved in? But what really pushed me over the edge wasn't just the truck. It was the fact that the HOA had laid claim to the road itself, a road my family had maintained for decades. A road that legally belonged to me, not them. And that night, as the cicadas sang in the woods around my property, I swore I wasn't going to be just another neighbor too scared to fight back. They'd messed with the wrong person. I bought my land 10 years ago, 20 acres of forested property just outside the city limits. It had been in my family for generations, but when my uncle passed, the land came to me. For years, I lived in peace. My house sat back from the main county road, connected by a gravel driveway. I graded myself every spring. Technically, it was a private road, surveyed and deeded to me, stretching almost half a mile from the county. Pavement to my front porch. The problem started when the subdivision next to my land was built. Suddenly, I had neighbors, a sprawling development with cookie-cutter homes, white fences, and an HOA that thought it ruled the world. I didn't mind at first, kept to myself, waved politely when I saw people jogging near the boundary line. But slowly I noticed something strange. Their community map started including my driveway. At first, I laughed it off. A printing error, maybe. But then, one afternoon, I came home to find an HOA sign posted at the start of my road. Private. ROAD HOA. Residents only. Trespassers will be towed. That sign was nailed right into one of my oak trees. I tore the sign down and called the HOA president, a smug woman named Karen. Naturally, who answered the phone like she was the Queen of England. "Oh, you must be the gentleman on Maple Drive," she said, with that syrupy condescension only people who think they have power can manage. "No," I snapped. "I'm the man who owns the private road you just tried to claim. Take your sign down and tell your people to stay off." "My land," she laughed. "That's adorable. You'll find that this road has been integrated into our community for easement purposes. If you don't like it, file a complaint." I hung up, seething. Easement purposes. That road was in my name, surveyed, taxed, maintained. No easement existed. But before I could even schedule a meeting with the county, they escalated. A week. Later, my truck disappeared. When I called the towing company, the dispatcher casually told me, "Yeah, HOA ordered it. Said it was abandoned on their road." I felt my blood pressure spike. Abandoned? That was my driveway, my truck, and my property. I stormed into the next HOA meeting. Picture it. A shiny clubhouse filled with people sipping bottled water and shuffling papers like they were running a fortune. 500 company instead of arguing about lawn lengths. Karen smirked when she saw me. "Ah, the Maple Drive situation," she said loudly, so everyone could hear. "We really wish you'd cooperate with the community rules." "Community rules don't apply to me," I shot back. "This is my land. You stole my truck." You nailed a sign to my tree. "You're trespassing." Gasps echoed around the room. A man in a golf shirt whispered something about me being unstable. Karen folded her arms. "Sir, unless you calm down, we'll be forced to take legal action. That road is part of our development plan. If you'd like to file for membership in the HOA, we can discuss your rights." That's when it hit me. They weren't bluffing. They actually thought they could absorb my land into their HOA, like some kind of empire expanding its borders. But what they didn't know, I had already filed paperwork with the county recorder's office that morning. I had the deed, the survey maps, and decades of tax records showing the road was mine. It took 6 months. 6 long, infuriating months. The HOA refused to return my truck unless I paid $1,500 in impound fees. They blocked my driveway with orange cones and resident parking-only signs. At one point, they even hired a security guard who tried to stop me from driving to my own house. So I did exactly what Karen told me to do. I filed a complaint, except I didn't just file one. I went nuclear. I hired a property attorney. Together. We launched a lawsuit for trespassing, theft, harassment, and damages. The county sheriff served them the papers right in the middle of their monthly meeting. I wish I could have seen Karen's face. The courtroom battle was brutal. The HOA's lawyer argued that my road had been dedicated to public use when the subdivision was built. But when the judge asked for proof, they produced nothing but internal HOA maps and meeting minutes. Meanwhile, my lawyer slammed down certified surveys, aerial photos, tax receipts dating back to the 1960s at one point. The judge leaned over and asked the HOA attorney, "Are you seriously trying to tell me this man doesn't own the land?" "He pays taxes on," the attorney stammered. Karen sat there, red-faced, whispering furiously into his ear. The real bombshell came when my lawyer revealed the towing company contract. The HOA had lied, claiming they had authority to tow vehicles from community roads, but the clause specifically excluded private property not owned by the HOA, which meant towing my truck wasn't just shady. It was illegal. The judge's gavel came down hard. He ruled that the road was legally mine and always had been. The HOA had no right to post signs, tow vehicles, or restrict access. The HOA owed me full compensation for the towing damages to my property and legal fees. When the verdict was read, I couldn't stop myself from grinning. After months of stress, sleepless nights, and sheer anger, justice had been served. The sheriff's deputies personally escorted me to the towing yard where my truck had been sitting, collecting dust. When I turned the key and heard the engine rumble to life, it felt like my father was sitting in the passenger seat again, telling me to never back down. But the best part came 2 weeks later. The HOA had to send out an official letter to all its members, admitting they had illegally claimed land they didn't own. Their community map was revised, with my road marked clearly as private property, do not enter. Neighbors started approaching me quietly, thanking me. Turns out, I wasn't the only one the HOA had bullied. They'd fine people for things like leaving a garden hose out or painting their shutters the wrong shade of blue. My case gave them courage. A few even started petitions to dissolve the HOA altogether. And Karen, she resigned as president within a month. Rumor was, she moved out of the neighborhood entirely. Sometimes I still think about that night I stood in my driveway, staring at the empty space where my truck had been. Back then I felt powerless, but I learned something important. Bullies only win if you let them. The law was on my side the whole time. I just had to fight for it. Now, stiff time I drive down my gravel road, I feel a deep sense of pride. Not just because it's mine, but because I stood my ground. The oak tree where they nailed that first sign still stands tall. I left the holes in the bark as a reminder. The HOA tried to steal my road and tow my truck. Instead, they ended up in court, humiliated, broke, and defeated. And me? I got everything back.